Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and Thor, issue number 8. An otherwise perfect issue. There were some problems in it, and it's a problem you might not think I would have. Yet, if you know me really, really well, or at least my reviews really well, you'll know why I had this problem. Anyway, let's get talking about this, and first we'll give credit where credit's due. Donny Cates is the writer, Aaron Cooter is the guest artist, Matt Wilson is the color artist, VC's Joe Sabino on letters and design, Oliver Coipel and Laura Martin doing the cover, and there's a bunch of variant covers out there. Hey, Thor was created by Stan Lee, Larry Lieber, and Jack Kirby. This is called Hammerfall, issue 2 of 2. It is, in fact, an interlude, but it's a really solid interlude, man. Wow, I really like this. So, mind you, it's an interlude that actually still matters to the greater story, because you can see how it flows and how we've been seeing what's going on. Anyhow, so we get basically 3 pages of absolute fluff that I don't really feel like I needed to see, or at least not 3 pages of it. Could have been done in 1 page, could have been done in a double-page spread that, just allow the artist to just go crazy with. Instead, you had 3 pages with specifically lined up panels doing it instead. Not really what I'm looking for. Whatever. I'm fine with it. No, that's not the big problem I had with this comic book. So, Aziz Ansari, what's this guy's name? Adam Aziz, so I think that's what his name is. Anyway, he's able to lift this hammer. Apparently anybody can lift the hammer because Tony Stark can lift the hammer. Let's be realistic, just for a hot moment. Forget about what you know about the movies and think about only the comic books. Only the comic books. The last person on Earth who should be able to lift that hammer is freaking Tony Stark. I'm not joking when I say Dr. Doom should be able to lift that hammer before Tony Stark does. All right? Not really, but almost. Like, that is a close almost. That's like 1 CH of difference. All right? Like, wow, dude. Anyway, really good scenes here. This whole comic book, for the most part, like not the main focus, but the background of everything that happens in here, Tony Stark lifting the hammer and going at it with Thor in Broxton, Oklahoma. This is just a play off of issue number, 2 or 3? I think it was issue 3 of the, the Straczynski run? It was so long ago, but it's like one of my favorite issues, something to always refer back to. And I guess I should have looked up which issue it was again, because somehow I forgot which one it was. Anyway, it's something along those lines. And where Thor basically grabs Tony, rips off the face mask. It was right after Civil War, the original Civil War. He's like, you mess with me again, you'll learn the difference between a god and a man in a tin suit. Actually said an iron suit, I think, but whatever. Either way, one way or another, it's freaking hysterical. It's amazing. And it is a really good representation of the fact that Tony Stark is nowhere near the power levels and can never come to the power levels that Thor just is. You want to talk about Darkseid is? Guess what Thor is? Saying? Power incarnate. Even him just unleashing and kicking everybody's butt is still him holding back. And that's one of the things I freaking love about the character. Anyway, so this whole thing here, I'm going to show you one of the inside pages. It's very early in the book, but still, like, it's a pretty important page. I love how he's got the backups there, the repulsors. They're able to, even on a curve, I'm going to say, like, it's repulsor technology. It's its own science. So even on a curve, somehow that would work. No, listen, there's no way that would work in actual physics. Like, it goes in a direction, any one singular direction, and yet somehow he's able to whip it around. Yeah, maybe if you had braces holding into your hands somehow, so otherwise, like, that would rip your freaking arm right off if it was able to generate that much power, and it's only the power of your arm whipping around and whatnot. No, that's ridiculous, but it's a comic book. I'm cool with it. But this whole entire scene is really just, it's one thing for a writer to remind you or to inform you that he's read such and such before. It's always great to see that. It's another thing to see that he really doesn't have anything original to add to it. It's just, hey, I read this. Instead of just he could have just gone on Twitter and say, I read such and such issue and it was awesome. Instead, he kind of pays tribute to that issue, but in a very a really, it's just an uncreative way to do it. It's like you basically just reinvented what had already happened. I'm actually okay with that. Believe it or not, I'm okay with that. But the thing that brings me down so much about this scene and everything around the scene is the idea that you get to see Tony Stark's colors. Is it his true colors? I don't know. It depends. Depends on who's writing him. It depends on the day. Obviously, according to Donny Cates, let's be honest here, he dislikes Tony Stark even more than I do. Oh, he can still love the character, still love everything, but understands that Tony Stark isn't a hero. I think in many ways, Donny Cates actually thinks that Tony Stark is a villain. He thinks that this is the superior Iron Man. I don't think Tony Stark is a villain. I just don't believe that he's a hero. And everything that I've seen in interviews with Stan and conversations with so many of the writers and the creators of new concepts that are still, considered canon today about Tony Stark, about Iron Man. Tony Stark simply isn't a hero. And in this, I see Cates made him a villain in many ways. He's only good because he knows that Thor will destroy him. When he thinks he could beat Thor, he'll take what he wants. He'll do what he wants. You know what I'm saying? He'll steal Thor's property and stuff like that. You gave away my phone number, my personal phone number. Bro, do you know how many times I've had to change my phone number because I give my phone number to somebody? It turns out that they're a douchebag. Or I give it to some girl and it's like, oh, stalker. Yeah. Do you know how many times girls have had to do that to guys? Probably you name any girl, they probably had to do it more times than I've had to do it. You know what I'm saying? Come on, people change their phone numbers all the time. It's not that freaking hard. So there's no reason for that to be the main thing. He just says that. Why? Because he's looking for an excuse to be mad at Thor. He's envious of Thor. He wants what Thor has. He's got his suit. He's got his repulsors. You know what I'm saying? He's got his arc reactor. He's got a whole bunch of really cool Tinker toys. But he wants to have true power like Thor. That is the version of Tony Stark that Donny Cates just did. So while this brings me down because it's the only thing, think about that sociopathic behavior that we're talking about. And Dr. Jordan Peterson has talked about this. And if you don't like Dr. Jordan Peterson, that's fine. But he is still a really goddamn good psychologist. So there's that. When he starts talking about history, it's like, bruh, get back in your lane. You know what I'm saying? But when he's talking about psychology, go for a second opinion. By all means, always do that. But you should still listen to what the man's got to say in this particular case. Anybody who follows the law, but if the law were relaxed or they knew they could get away with something outside of the purview of the law, guess what? This kind of a person is a true born and bred sociopath. So Donny Cates just made Tony Stark a sociopath. I don't think I like that too much. But at the same time, I can't lie and say I'm not really curious. When are we going to get Cates writing Tony Stark? So I am worried he's going to make him a flat-out villain, though. And that's something I really don't want to see. I like Tony Stark not being a hero, just doing the right thing, but not always for the right reason. I love that. You find me one other character who does that. You know what I'm saying? Find me one other character who's like that. And don't say the Punisher, because that's not the understanding that I'm trying to integrate into this conversation. The Punisher is something different. He's by any means necessary. Stark isn't by any means necessary. I got the right thing done, but it's only because it happens to align with my goals. It's not about the greater good for him. It's about, I will only do things that help me. But being a hero, going outside of what I'm looking for? No. Tony Stark likes having a lot of power. Doesn't like when other people have power. In this particular case, this is not too far off from what Cates did. Anyway, the stuff that he does with Aziz, I'm kind of glad this didn't happen, and I usually don't like it when a cover misrepresents what actually happens, but this is actually a good non-interpretation of what happens in the comic book, but I still love it. This is such a fun cover, man. To have, Thor's he's sitting there eating a sandwich, he's eating a hoagie, Aziz is in the back, he's getting beaten up by this big, freaking Jotunheim troll. This is awesome. Something very dissimilar to that happens. Donny Cates, who's down with the devil by his own admission, He actually has a God moment. Not really. He has a prayer moment in here. And it was good. It was a good thing. It was seeing Kate's kind of... a lot of people have this interpretation of Kate's, and not because he doesn't try to propagate this. No, Kate's is all about trying to show people that he's more than human. You know what I'm saying? Every so often he has a slip up, once in a while calling that EVS guy during one of his Comicsgate live streams. That was bad. That's like, dude, please just hang up the phone. Please just hang up the phone. Please. He didn't hang up the phone. Anyway, aside from those all too human moments, Kate's really, when I used to follow him, a lot closer than I do today, he's had a lot of moments where he's trying hard to push the idea that he's superhuman. That's not a bad thing. You want to market yourself like that, that's perfectly fine. I mean, I think for the most part, everybody understands it's not true. But there are still those hero worshiper guys, which makes it a little bit weird, In this issue, it almost seems like he lets down his guard a little bit, which isn't a bad thing by any stretch of the imagination. His prayer conversation between Thor and Aziz, it's so short. It seems so innocent. So it's just mundane. It's just thrown in there, right? But it's not. It's absolutely not. There was something there. I would like to see that explored more. I would like to see this Thor explored more. It reminds me back of those old days when Thor was, trying to resurrect people from the dead, and that preacher's like, but you're not the real God. Oh, enough with the whole real God nonsense. I don't want to hear that stuff. This isn't DC. I don't want God in my comic books like that. The presence and stuff. I really just don't want that in the comics. And I know recently they showed the presence isn't actually the ultimate power because of Perpetua and all that stuff, but whatevs, man. Not a fan. I don't want there to be an ultimate God in the comic books. But this, I would like to see this explored a lot more. That preacher can eat a dick. As far as this is concerned, I really enjoyed this comic book a lot. Guys, it's Thor. It's Donny Cates. I'm sorry. What's the argument here? What's the question? Go out and grab the comic book. Issue number 8. Enjoy. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Like the video, watch an ad. Class dismissed.